Welcome to Mock Draft Mondays. I am your host, J.J. Wetter, and today we complete a 2-round IDP only mock draft. No dirty O to cloud our pure hearts. Joining us today is our man in Canton, writer and podcaster extraordinaire for Club Fantasy FFL. Let's be honest, an all-around good dude. You can find him on X at the Joel Worth. Mr. Joel Worth, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing well, JJ. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to doing some IDP.
Me as well. And of course, my former boss, the founder of Gridiron Ratings, the repository for more IDP rookie scouting information than almost anyone I know. You can find him on X at NFL_DiMatteo. It's Jeff DiMatteo. How are you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing great, JJ. I'm thrilled to be back on camera with you, man. It's been a while.
It's definitely been a minute, so it is always good to reconnect with friends, my buddy. All right, so before we get started, we are going to be using the Kings Classic scoring. Our man Ricky Rod is going to be handling the draft board behind the scenes. So Kings Classic scoring pretty much tries to even out the 5 positions in IDP, so everybody has a relative value. It bumps up, DBs and DTs and the guys who don't get as much love in normal drafts. But before we dive in, remember to check out all of the content over on idpguys.org. For a limited time, we are offering the first month for $1 if you use the code MOCKDRAFT. That's right, get a taste of IDP Plus for just $1, and you'll be coming back for more. All right, gentlemen. Let's kick this off. First pick in the mock draft is going to Jeff.
All right, so I haven't played in the Kings Classic. I don't know the exact scoring breakout. I just know it's a little balanced. So I'm going to stick with just who are the best players on my board here. I'm going to go with NC State linebacker Peyton Wilson. This guy is lightning quick. He has incredible range. The only knock in his game I was able to find is that he could use a little bit of work hand fighting guards, especially when he's trying to scrape across the line of scrimmage to make plays behind the line. But if anything gets past the line of scrimmage, this guy's going to gobble him up. He's also effective dropping into pass coverage, whether it's zone. He can also stick to a guy in man. Got to love him with the first pick here.
All right. So Jeff went with Peyton Wilson. Joel, where are you going next?
Yeah, so I haven't done Kings Classic scoring either, so I'm not totally familiar with the intricacies, so I'm kind of going to lean linebacker. My favorite linebacker in this class is Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. Not sure how – he's got good PFF grades against the run. Not sure how well he's going to stack up in the pros, but really long, kind of lean guy, really fast, can get after the quarterback on the blitz. I think his length is going to help him in coverage. He's going to be really tough to throw over. He can cover tight ends. I think he's going to be a 3-down guy, a guy I really like. And as a Packer fan, kind of hoping this is a guy they come out of the draft with.
All right. So Edgerrin Cooper goes to Joel with the 3rd pick. Jeff.
Let's go to edge here. Let's see if we can find a little bit of sack production combined with some tackle production. Really like Dallas Turner. This is a player where he's not Will Anderson. He's not going to be Aiden Hutchinson. He's not going to get you 15 sacks a year. That's not in his profile. But this is the kind of guy where you're going to plug him in for IDP. You can expect probably about a 10-sack ceiling for him during his prime. But he's also going to have the capacity to chip in about 65 or 70 tackles. It's going to make him really useful when you start looking at like sleeper leagues. And he's going to have that DL eligibility. Definitely going to make him a difference maker there.
So he can play the run as well?
He can. He scrapes really well, very strong, sets the edge very, very well. And with all the outside zone schemes we see nowadays, he's the kind of guy that can shut that down. And then he can also spin back inside to make those plays. Like I said, I don't think he's an elite pass rusher. Not at this juncture. He needs to develop a couple of more moves, but he's strong enough, fast enough where he can do everything you need to pile up those kind of sneaky points for tackles for loss, and he'll get some QB hits here and there. He'll get you all those sneaky points where you're always wondering, how did this guy get to DL 12, 13, 14? That's where he's going to be.
I like sneaky points. So Dallas Turner goes 3rd. Joel, where are we going with the next pick?
I'm going to follow Jeff to the edge, and I'm going to take my favorite pass rusher from this class. That's Laiatu Latu of UCLA. Like the only real negative on him is the health issue, right? He had to retire for a year because of a neck issue. So that's going to be kind of scary. So if he kind of falls down draft boards, that could be why. I think he's going to be an elite pass rusher in the pros. He's really good with his hands. I mean, he can just chop offensive tackles' hands down and get around the edge. He's super fast. I think he's going to have a lot of sack production in the pros. So I'm going to take Latu here.
All right. So we went linebacker, edge. Jeff, are you going to change it up?
I feel like we need to. I just got to keep throwing these little curveballs here. And JJ, I hope you don't throw me off the show for this, but I'm going to go cornerback Cooper DeJean here. I'm taking Cooper a little early, and I'm fully aware it's early. He's a corner. I think he profiles as a safety, slot corner kind of defensive weapon. There's going to be some hidden tackles there. There's going to be some pass depth. He's not a guy that puts up a ton of interceptions necessarily because nobody wants to throw at him. It's probably going to take a couple of years to develop that at the next level. Give me Cooper DeJean to really kind of start bringing it rookie through year 3 before teams decide, hey, we're not going near this guy.
Now, is Cooper DeJean a lock for the first round in the actual NFL draft?
Is anybody a lock with all the offensive weapons in this class? I think he's close. He definitely deserves that consideration. He's the kind of player where I would love him in today's, everyone's in a nickel's their new base, right? That's not sub anymore. He's going to be on the field a lot. And so I think he could play first round pick, early second, and he's going to step in as a starter immediately for most teams. So I love him there.
All right.
Especially in balanced scoring.
Especially in balanced scoring. All right. With the 6th pick, Joel, where are we going?
I'm going to go back to the edge. There's another edge I really like, and that's Jared Verse, Florida State. Just a huge guy, really good against the run, really solid against the run, and very good pass rusher. He's a guy I think, like last year, he kind of teased going into the draft and then went back to school. I think he's a better prospect than like Tyree Wilson was last year, who went in the top 10 to the Raiders. I think he will get knocked down the board a little bit just because, like Jeff referred to, there's so many elite offensive players in this class. But I think like last year, he probably would have been a top 10 pick, and I think he deserves to be that. So I'll take Jared Verse here.
Now, as a Packers fan, are you excited about the fact that all the defensive prospects are going to fall to where you're picking?
I would love for any of these guys to fall. I think Cooper and Wilson are probably second round guys, just because the off-ball linebacker isn't really a priority position in the league anymore. But I think Turner, Latu, and Verse are all going to be gone well before the Packers go. I think DeJean will be there in that kind of area, and I think he's someone who kind of profiles as like, I'm not saying he's Charles Woodson, but he's kind of that kind of player where he can be that kind of star back. You can blitz him off the edge. He can cover the slot, do a lot of things, a lot of different things. And I think that's his kind of ideal deployment. People say he can play corner, he can play safety. Well, use him as both, right? Use him as a weapon instead of just putting him at one spot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the more snaps, the better, right?
Exactly.
Change it up, make it varied. Jeff, where are we going with the 7th pick?
So 7th pick, I'm kind of going legacy here. Give me linebacker Jeremiah Trotter. The film was up and down at times. I like the player. I think he contributes enough. He's technically sound, but he's not exactly the athlete that we see some of these other linebackers are. I think the awareness and the instincts are going to help him at the next level. Probably needs to develop a little bit more on 3rd down, but we're going to see him a lot on 1st and 2nd. We're going to see him getting out there and, excuse me, making a bunch of tackles right out of the chute. I don't know how effective he's going to be in pass defense. He can get after the quarterback a little bit. He's shown some proclivity to get after it in the blitz. He's a guy that right here is a 3rd linebacker. I'm pumped.
All right. Joel, where are we going with number 8?
I'm going to stay at linebacker, and I'm going to take Junior Colson from Michigan. I think he kind of profiles as kind of a classic middle guy, good speed, can really – I think he might be able to stay on the field for 3 downs depending on the situation, depending on the scheme. So I think he may be the kind of best accumulator linebacker in this class. So Junior Colson from Michigan for me.
All right. I find that Colson is talked about a lot, but not in the top couple. but it's like the hidden name. Like everybody is like, oh, this is the guy you have to watch out for. I'm interested to see where he lands. If he just goes to the Chargers, who seem to be cutting everybody on their roster right now, or trading everybody, I don't know. Are they just going to run back Michigan in LA? Not quite
Looks like
sure.
they're going to try.
It's going to be interesting. At number 9, Jeff, where are we going?
I feel like we should probably pick a safety, right? I like Tyler Nubin. I know a lot of folks are really hot on the safety class. I've heard a lot of chatter about people thinking this is a very deep, really excellent safety class. It's not the group we saw a few years ago with Brisker and some of those guys. But Nubin profiles as the kind of guy that can stay on the field. He can play against the run, play against the pass. My concern is that he's going to end up somewhere where he's going to get left playing deep in like a cover 2 situation, which could limit his IDP impact. But he's the most talented guy in this group, bar none. I'll always bet on talent.
Yeah, Tyler Nubin was the first safety to go in our last IDP only draft. I'm very excited to see where he ends up. And of course, it's always with safeties, depends on how they're deployed, but he has a great opportunity to make an impact. At number 10, where are we going, Joel?
I'm going to go back to the edge and take Chop Robinson from Penn State. Had a really good combine, tested a very superior athlete. He's a little bit small, doesn't hold up against the run as well as the other guys do. But I think he's someone who's going to put up, as like a situational pass rusher, just can put up some, double-digit sacks regularly in the NFL. There's a lot of people who have him kind of ranked among the Verse, Latu, Turner group. I have him a little bit kind of below that tier, but a lot of people who really like him. So I will take him here at 10.
Very good. His performance at the combine. Do you think it might have pushed him into the first round?
I think he's probably a back end of the first round guy. I think the combine really helped kind of solidify the kind of athlete that he is. So yeah, I think he's right in that range, kind of back end first round.
All right. So Chop Robinson at number 10 in the first round. Jeff, where are we going at number 11?
I was hoping I was getting chopped there. Excuse me. I'm still fighting off a cold here. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to stay on the edge here and go with Chris Braswell. This is a guy that not a lot of people are in love with necessarily, but had a chance to see him up close and personal at the Senior Bowl. Smart guy. He understands the game on a technical level. He can talk to you about scheme and what the offense is actually doing to him. And I think if a team can get him out on the edge, let him put his hand in the dirt, and say I'm thinking like Philadelphia where they go hand in the dirt and standing. That would be a great fit for him. Just let him go set the edge and get after the quarterback. He would be a wonderful fit there.
All right. Braswell, somebody who I see his name all the time and I don't know a lot about him. That's why I host these drafts, so I can learn and rob all the information. When I draft IDP, I can pretend I'm smart. With the last pick of the first round, Mr. Joel Worth, where are we going?
So I really don't like this safety class at all, but there's one guy kind of going under the radar that I do like quite a bit, and I'll take him here, my first DB, and that's Jaden Hicks from Washington State. I think the kind of draft industrial complex kind of has him pegged as a box safety, but I think there's more there. I think he's got some coverage ability. He's a long guy, but he's got some speed. I think he can cover. I think he'll be good against tight ends. I could see him maybe. I don't think he tested at the combine, but I think he's a really good athlete. So I could see him maybe getting some kind of deep snaps, especially if you're like in a cover 2 or something like that. So I think he's someone who could get you some IDP value. So kind of my favorite safety in this class.
All right. So we finish up with Jaden Hicks. Not going to lie, the best part about that talk up was you using the term draft industrial complex. Do we shorten that just to Dick? Or
that's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
I'm just asking. It might be funny to do that.
I like it.
So let's recap this first round. So we had Peyton Wilson, Edger, and Cooper at 1-2, followed by Dallas Turner, Latu, and Cooper DeJean, Jared Verse, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. At 8, we went with Colson, followed by Tyler Nubin, our first safety, then Chop Robinson, Chris Braswell, and Jaden Hicks. Now, gentlemen, there's only two of you going back and forth, so only half of these could be a surprise to you. But Jeff, out of Joel's picks, which one surprised you that it went in the first round?
Um, I feel like he was pretty well to script here. I thought he took really good players. I guess the one guy that stands out to me is probably Junior Colson, just because there's a few holes in his game yet, and I wonder if he's going to be able to step in and play right away. He can tackle. Like, I'm not worried about that. I love his length. Joel alluded to some of those things already. But there was a couple of false steps in there. When you watch the film, he'll kind of give you a false step in the wrong direction, get faked out by pulls and counters and things. Slows down a reaction time. That's the only thing that kind of bothered me about the prospect. But that's, I guess, the only guy. But I mean, heck, at number 8, like, you can't be mad about it.
All right, Joel, same question for you about Jeff's picks.
I don't know that there's anyone who doesn't belong in the first round. I'll just go to his first pick in Peyton Wilson and say that, like, there's some real injury concerns with him. So I'm not sure if he's going to be kind of the first pick overall. If he's healthy, he certainly deserves to be there, because he could be, there's not a lot of great linebackers in this class. So if you're kind of looking for that, if you got an IDP team that needs linebackers, it's going to be tough. So I think he will get pushed up towards the first or the early part of the draft in IDP drafts. The injury concerns are real, and he's an elite athlete, right? There's no question about that, but he's had like multiple shoulder injuries. He's not a big guy. So I think it's an open question whether he can hold up at the next level.
Hopefully once he gets into an NFL weight room, all that prep work that they do to build up their bodies, hopefully they take that next step and can prevent some of these injuries from reoccurring. Now, Jeff, you said you're not going to the expo. Joel, you are going. I'm not sure if you are aware, but IDP Plus is sponsoring the Lawrence Taylor division at Draft Night Out. Now, drafts are going to take place in Canton, where Joel lives, at the Fantasy Football, right down the street at the expo in August. Now, In Between Media puts on an amazing event. There's music, raffles, giveaways. So make sure you're checking them out on Twitter at Draft Night Out FF and sign up for one of their events. Everybody who goes loves them. I'm actually going to sign up for one myself this year just to see what the buzz is about. Speaking of buzz, gentlemen, we are about to enter the second round. This is where it gets a little bit more dicey. So I'm interested to see who is creeping up the boards and who is falling. So, Jeff, who are you taking with your first pick of the second round?
That's a toughie. I actually like about 4 different guys right here. But because of the balanced scoring format, I guess there's some value for IDL. I'm going to go there. And I'm going to go right to the top here with Byron Murphy. Big, strong guy, can get penetration from the inside. He can help you in the run game, and he can collapse pockets. It's hard to find those kinds of guys. So I'll take a flyer on him and see how it goes.
Yeah, listen, in a DT mandatory leagues, like, it's important to get a good DT. Joel, where are we going with the 14th pick?
Yeah, I would have taken Murphy there, so that's a great pick by Jeff. I'll stay back on the edge and take Darius Robinson from Missouri. Guy who didn't have a lot of production kind of during his college career, but really showed out the Senior Bowl. He was kind of moved back and forth between edge and interior DL, so I don't know if he had a chance to kind of really work at a position. So I think once he gets into the pros, gets some coaching and gets kind of left alone at one spot, somebody I think could take another step. Didn't have a real great combine, but he's got a real athletic body type. So I think, again, you talked about getting into an NFL weight room, getting, coaching from NFL strength and conditioning coaches, a guy who might be able to take that next step.
All right. So Darius Robinson, big man from Missouri at 14. Jeff, 15.
I'm gonna stay on the IDL front here, and I'm gonna take a guy that I feel like is really underrated. Every time I turned on Jared Verse's film, I kept seeing this guy, Braden Fisk. Fisk is an absolute terror inside. He continually draws multiple blocks, and he allowed a guy like Jared Verse to see a lot of one-on-one on the edge, and it made it very tough to chip or otherwise get a second body on him. Braden Fisk is a terror. Give me that guy. He's going to do something good for a football team this year.
All right. Braden Fisk at 15 overall. Joel, 16.
I'm a state linebacker. Go back to Cedric Gray of North Carolina, kind of guy who's getting some buzz here, kind of late in the process. Again, a guy who could play them kind of very similar to Junior Colson out of Michigan, without the name recognition, maybe. Not a perfect prospect, but I think the guy who can play the middle in like a 4-3, something like that, and hopefully can stay on the field for 3 downs.
All right, Cedric Gray, linebacker out of North Carolina. At 17, Jeff.
We're starting to get into the thick of it here now. It's I'm going to go DB here. And I see the way they're ranked. I don't disagree with how they're set up, but I like this guy's tackle upside. Give me Cameron Kinchins out of Miami. This is a guy that he looks like the kind of guy that should be in the box. I know he played deep quite a bit at Miami, but the guy hits like an absolute freight train. Had a chance to see him up close and personal a couple of times, and big guy. He looks like an NFL player. Every bit the Tarzan look, and there is no amount of Jane in his game. Love him as a tackler. I think he can certainly step in and help somebody out. Probably gonna get pulled off the field in major passing situations. But if he goes to a team that's really good and sees a lot of run in the second half, those game scripts will help him pile up some cheap tackles.
Love to hear that. As a former ELA teacher, I love alliteration. So, Cameron Kitchen, Zach Zenner, I'm always a sucker for alliteration. It's my weak spot. If you draft with me, let those guys fall to me. I'll probably snatch them up and then regret it later. Joel, 18.
So we're in the second round, so we're getting some flawed guys, but we're going to take the upside here with Kalen Bullock, who's a safety from USC. Really bad tackler. So he's going to have to fix that before he can get on the field, but a guy with great ball skills, can create turnovers. Really, he's going to be a deep safety. So like I say, he's going to have to clean up that tackling to get on the field. So I worry about that. But if he can do that, the kind of interception, the turnover production could be there. So we'll take a chance on Bullock here. All
right, Kalen Bullock. Let's go to number 19, Jeff.
I'm going to stay at the University of Miami here, and I'm going to stay DB here because this guy's not a DB. He's actually going to play linebacker at the next level, and that's James Williams. He worked out almost exclusively at linebacker at the Senior Bowl, and he absolutely is not a defensive back. He is going to play linebacker. Kind of the guy you hope it turns into like a Divine Diablo plus type of a player. It's like a truck. He can run around. He's huge. He's 6'4", runs about 225. That's a real big safety. And now we're going to plug him in as a linebacker, let him run and hit. And I think it really plays to his strengths. He can play the pass a little bit. He was used deep entirely too often, so it kind of hindered his numbers at Miami in terms of tackling and getting after some of those IDP metrics. But as he moves into the box now at the next level, that's going to be a surprise prospect that I think someone's going to steal late in drafts.
Listen, if you're going to give me a player comp that has alliteration as well, I'm going to be in on James Williams.
I tried to get to that Divine Diablo. I tried to stick with the alliteration here. I was going to see how many more of those we could squeeze in for you.
Listen, I know this is a little bit off. There is no better name in the NFL than Divine Diablo. Like, right? I mean, is there anything up there? Like, I can't.
There's a guy. There's a guy that I saw was shared on Twitter/X the other day. His name is Rowdy Beers. And he's a sophomore for somebody. I forget what school it was, but he's a sophomore somewhere. And but Rowdy Beers. It was
okay. All right. So in my Debbie leagues,
there's your guy.
Rowdy
there you go.
All right, gentlemen. Sorry for derailing the train. Let's go to number 20 with Joel.
Again, late in the second round, we're shooting for upside. So I'm going to take Johnny Newton from Illinois, the interior defensive lineman. He can get after the quarterback, good penetrator, had some injury issues, doesn't have a real clean game. But, he's someone who, kind of early in the mock draft season, he was someone who was going, top 15 in these kind of early mock drafts. He's got that talent. But there's a lot he's got to clean up. But at this point, you're just shooting for upside and shooting for what these guys hopefully can be. So I'll take Johnny Newton here.
All right, Johnny Newton, the big man. At 21, Jeff, where are we going?
Well, this is where we start getting into emotional picks. And I'm going to go with my guy Max Melton here. So Max plays really fast. He can play corner. I think he can play a little safety also. He tackles well enough, covers. He does everything you can ask from a guy. Comes from a football background. His brother Bo plays in the league. You've probably heard of him. His dad actually played in the league also for the once Washington Redskins back in the late 80s, early 90s. His dad, Gary, was actually my Pee Wee football coach. And so we're all from the same area. So, of course, I have to pull for my guy Max here. And hopefully he lands somewhere where he can get us some great IDP production.
All right, Max Melton, the sentimental pick at 21. Joel, 22.
Well, we talked about Cooper DeJean, and I don't consider him a cornerback. So now that Jeff has kind of broken the cornerback seal, I'll take my favorite one here. That's Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. I think he showed out at the combine, probably the best athlete in the class. Really good player, obviously from a small school, so he doesn't have the tape. But the tape he has is really good, right? He's an elite player. I think he's going to get some slot snaps in the NFL, so I think he can maybe pile up a little bit of tackle production, a little bit more than like your pure boundary corners will. So I think there's a chance he's got some, especially in a league where you have to start a corner. I think he's a guy who you may want to start in an IDP league.
All right, Quinyon Mitchell. Is he considered the top cornerback? Do you think he'll be the first cornerback to go in the draft?
I think he's in that discussion, right, with Terry and Arnold. I think it's kind of one of those two. Like Nate Wiggins was there, but he's just way too thin. He's way too skinny. I think he almost disqualifyingly skinny. He's not. He's still going to get drafted in the first round. But I think it's between Mitchell and Arnold, and that it's going to be. Do you want the production at a high-level school in Alabama like Arnold had, or do you want kind of the elite upside that Mitchell shows, but even though he doesn't have the elite competition playing at Toledo?
The classic question when it comes to the NFL. All right, with the penultimate pick, Jeff DiMatteo, who are you going with?
Well, we talked about the pre-show, and I'm really thankful that Joel didn't snipe me here just for the sake of doing it. I'm going to go linebacker. Give me Cal linebacker Jackson Sermon. This guy, injury history, kind of got banged up a little bit, especially his last season at Cal. Excuse me. He's a tackling machine. The guy has absolutely no trouble getting you 6, 7, 8 tackles a week. He really identified at the Senior Bowl, had a chance to talk to him for quite a bit about his ability to play against the pass, but it wasn't really demonstrated at Cal. He set out at the Senior Bowl to show scouts and decision makers he could play against the pass. 3 days worth of practice, my man had 4 pass breakups and 2 interceptions. He can play against the pass too. He can get shook by some shiftier guys. Had a chance to see him against some wide receivers he shouldn't have been matched up on. And, he can get shaken up a little bit. Doesn't have that exceptional agility. Man, good enough instincts, good enough hands. Kind of just checks all the boxes as good enough. Not exceptional at any of them, but in an IDP draft, you can probably take him at the very end. And at minimum, it's an upside flyer shot where at least he can tackle.
Yes, that comes in handy in IDP leagues. So Jackson Sermon, love the pick. Love the information on a guy I hadn't heard about at all. Nobody has spoken about Jackson Sermon, so I appreciate that. Joel.
Super smart guy.
So at this point, we're going with guys we like, and that's going to be Gabriel Murphy for me, the other edge from UCLA. I think there's going to be concern about how much of his opportunity was a function of having Latu on the other side. But I think he's a guy who's got some pass rush skill. He's going to be an edge. So I think there's sack upside there. And second round, 24th pick overall in an IDP. So shooting for upside. So I will take Gabriel Murphy.
All right. With our final pick, we have Gabriel Murphy. Just to recap, we actually got bookended by Murphys. We started the second round with Byron Murphy, followed by Darius Robinson, Braden Fisk, and Cedric Gray. Next up, the alliteration of Cameron Kitchens, Kalen Bullock, James Williams, and Johnny Newton. Again, kicking off the next group, Max Melton, Quinyon Mitchell, Jackson Sermon, and Gabriel Murphy. Gentlemen, which of Joel, which of Jeff's picks here were you most surprised by?
Well, I'll say I wasn't surprised by Jackson Sermon because he told us he was taking a pre-show.
He did call his shot.
Yeah, he's a guy, like, I'm not super familiar, but I've heard the name. I think there's some interest in him. I guess Max Melton, who I like him quite a bit, but I think I'm not sure. Is he going to be more of a slot corner or a boundary corner? I don't know. And like we said before, that if you're just a boundary corner, you're not super valuable for IDP. I think Melton's got the ability to go inside, but it's just going to depend on how he's used. So that would be the only question. I think Jeff did a great job. There's he took a lot of guys that I certainly would, starting with Byron Murphy. I had him kind of lined up there. So yeah, no real complaints from my end on what Jeff did.
Jeff, are you going to be as kind to Joel's picks?
No. Yes. No, I mean, so same thing. So we're in the second round, right? So it's a lot of, hey, like, who are some guys I kind of like? Who are some guys with upside? Where can we find a diamond in the rough here? The only guy that kind of, I don't say surprised me at all, but Quinyon Mitchell is an excellent corner. I think at the next level, teams are going to avoid him. I don't think they're going to throw at him because this guy, he's quick, he's fast, he's got incredible ball skills. He's going to have a couple of those spike games where he gets you a pick, but he's probably not going to get you a ton of tackles. So depending on how our scoring works here, that might be a guy where, for me, he might have slid a little bit further just because he doesn't tackle quite as well as I would like. He's aggressive, don't get me wrong, but I think he's so good that teams are going to say, nah, it's like Sauce Gardner. I'm not trying to go at him. I'm going to go with the other guy.
All right. Well, Jeff, looking at the rest, who's the best out there that we did not pick up?
You know, there's a bunch of guys out here that deserve to probably get second, early third round consideration. A few names offhand: Devondre Sweat, Chris Jenkins. You know, I like Mason Smith a little bit. Maris Leofau from Notre Dame, the linebacker. He's a guy that he's developing still. He's still trying to figure the game out a little bit, but he's exceptionally well-rounded. A great taxi squad candidate. I'd be happy to take him just for the upside. But yeah, those are kind of some of the names that stand out to me. Otherwise, a lot of these guys are, as Joel said in the second round, they're kind of flawed players. We're getting to that point, and there's a lot of that left on the board.
Joel, anybody stand out for you who's left over?
One guy who has been mentioned is Javon Bullard, who I think can be like kind of the Walmart version of Cooper DeJean, kind of that star back. You can kind of play, who can play the slot. He can play outside in a pinch. So I think that's a guy who might have some IDP value, who's kind of still on the board.
All right, gentlemen. And that's it. 2 rounds, 24 players, about 7 added in just for some discussion. So it's time for tags, where we share any final thoughts we have and let everyone know where they can find you and what you're working on. Joel?
You can find me at the Joel Worth on Twitter. Tomorrow morning, you can tune in to the Dynasty After Party with myself and our mutual friend, Michael Sicoli, who is back this week after covering some high school sports. We'll be talking about how free agency has affected your Dynasty shares. So big show tomorrow. And then we'll have some articles coming out. I am a kind of noted zero RB truther. So we'll be have an article coming out on the zero RB rebuttal to the comings and goings of free agency.
Very good. Well, we might actually have our first zero RB real NFL draft this year. Jeff, what do you have to say?
You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever your preferred term is there. Handles right there at NFL_DiMatteo. Over at Gridiron Ratings, working on a few new things. In the next week or so, we're going to have some rookie content dropping where it's predominantly kind of image driven, as opposed to having people, read through 1,000, 2,000 words of data and stuff. Taking the hundreds of hours of film breakdown and throwing it into some infographics, trying to make it a little easier to digest. So keep your eyes open for that. You can certainly follow me, and I'll be posting all of it on X as soon as it goes live.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Jeff has been working so hard for so long on building those graphics, and they always look like fire. So I can't wait to see the latest iteration of them. I'm at JJ Wenner on X. Thank you to Joel and Jeff. Thank you so much for coming on and helping us. Thank you to Ricky, who I took the hosting job from and then kicked him off the show. Sorry, buddy. But thank you for everything you do and the entire crew at IDP Plus. You can catch me on the Rider Dynasty podcast for IDP Plus. Comes out normally on Fridays, and an upcoming pod, which I'll talk about soon, with Doug Orth. So from all of us to all of you, make sure you're doing well. Take care of each other, and never say anything to make a meeting longer or cut a happy hour short. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.